War of words has already begun with Baker Mayfield.
Shocker.
That in a second. But first, the more important story, and that is the weather in Detroit. You know, everybody's talking about Buffalo. Why are they not talking about Detroit?
There's a reason behind this.
Yeah, there is. It's because they play in a dome.
The poor reporter from the station is not a sports reporter. The station,
No way.
The station cut the sports staff, and they just sent some reporter that had no business covering a sport because they were local, and she's just out there trying to do her best. It'd be like if you were. It'd be like if you.
Why not look that up?
I feel sympathy. It's like if you sent us to cover, I don't know, like if you sent us to cover like the Portland RV show and we had to ask the maker of the Winnebago.
Well, that's the thing. We don't have to ask anything. She didn't have to ask anything.
Yeah.
And whatever her question was, she could have looked it up.
Yes. Look,
Let's take a listen. Okay. This is Todd Bowles, the coach of the Bucks.
Looking forward towards Detroit. The weather has been a factor in some of the playoff games, even for the most prepared teams. Today, it's 13 in Detroit, which doesn't compare to some of the temperatures we tend to talk to. Any special plans to acclimate the team to not only endure, but perform in those kind of frigid temperatures should you face them in Detroit?
You do know we play indoors, right? And they got a dome. I don't.
Yeah.
No, nothing planned. We're indoors, and we only have to be outside for 20 seconds getting off the bus going under the thing, so we'll be okay.
Todd Bowles, nice guy.
By the way, I feel because you know the poor thing, and
there's a follow-up question there, by the way.
Is there?
Yes.
I haven't heard the follow-up.
Well, she should say no. I'm not saying there was.
Yeah.
There should have been, and she could have just said, well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What is your plan for the 20 seconds before you walk under the thing?
You scared about injuries from the walk from door to door there?
I feel so terrible because, again, so here's a lady that knows nothing about sports, obviously. She's not in the sports department, and some dumbass at her station was like, hey, you're going to cover this press conference. And she thought real hard about her question. She had it all lined up. You know, she practiced that a bunch of times and was really ready for like a hard-hitting question. And I can feel it in my chest the moment when she realized this didn't go the way.
I love Bowles' answer.
This didn't go the way I
sticks
planned.
in my craw. This really sticks in my craw.
Why?
Because it's stupid.
Schultz,
There's people
God,
fighting
Schultz,
in this world for careers, and she's out there. So many
Well, it's
people
not
want to be
her
in that
fault.
press conference asking
Now-
a question. That's a privilege in this business. It is.
Yeah, but dude,
a lot of people fight
hold
their
on.
way to get to that, and it's
Hold
just
on.
frustrating that person, man or woman, it
Schultz,
doesn't matter. They know nothing, and they prepared
Dude.
in no way, shape, or form.
How many
they just,
press
the
conference-
weather's a
Schultz,
great topic
shut
lately.
the hell
Let's
up.
roll on that.
God, you're. How many freaking press conferences have you been to?
At least
100.
30, at least 30
Whatever.
to 40, yeah.
Every single one I've been to, and I haven't been to one in years because I quickly learned how dumb they are. But we've been to hundreds.
Yes.
And every single one of them has more of that person than real reporters. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
Everyone.
And that goes all the way back to when I started. That's all I can account for is when I started. But that was 25 years ago. It's been the same thing.
That's
now,
fair.
this has, and I get what you're saying, Schulte, but it's just, I mean, I used to be in press conferences and ask stupid questions because I didn't, you know, there is an element of this that should not be remotely shocking.
But they're stupid, and then there's absolutely unprepared.
Yeah, and I would say there is a little blame for her. Apparently, she's not just a newbie, apparently. Although, I've got one more hot comment here.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, and that is that I think the internet has lost its edge because the second that I saw this clip on Twitter or whatever, wherever I saw it, I fully expected this woman, to be
outed.
completely raked over the coals.
And I haven't seen her name.
I haven't seen her name. I haven't seen her headshot.
No.
I haven't seen anybody taking shots at her other than they are talking about this moment.
It just says a reporter, a Tampa Bay reporter.
Usually, internet instantly finds her picture, throws it up, and absolutely buries her, and then goes and finds past like mildly racist tweets, and then their life's over, and then you got the whole thing. But that has not happened with her, so I think that is a good thing.
Yes,
that people are kind of letting this go. But she's just. Her fault in this is that you can still you don't know football, obviously, but you can still make sure your question is a relevant one. You can look up. It's not hard to look up where they play.
Maybe it was one of those where she was asked 20 minutes before, "Hey, you got to go cover this." I don't know.
Well, then don't ask a question.
I'm trying to have some grace. Because I can only imagine the shame spiral that she went into the moment that question was asked.
It is hard to describe the amount of doofus that is usually sitting in a press conference of that sort. I'm not kidding.
It's bad.
There are so many people who are thoroughly clueless that get access to those. Now, a lot of them don't, to their credit, don't say anything.
Just shut up.
They just most of
record.
The real reporters ask most of the good questions, and that's where you get most of the content, and they piggyback off of that.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, man, you see a room full of, let's say, 30 people covering a press conference. I'm going to go ahead and bet right now 22 of them are bad. It's just or young or green or it just there's something where that's not even a.
I would also like to point out that it happens. Stephen A. Smith is the highest paid employee at ESPN, and Stephen A. Smith once said that he was looking forward to a matchup between Hunter Henry, the Chargers tight end, and whatever defense they were playing, and Hunter Henry hadn't played a game all year. He had a torn ACL, right? Like. And that's Stephen A. Smith. And by the way, I'm not recently one of the biggest voices in what we do. A national radio host suggested that the Miami Dolphins have a second quarterback on their roster, and when they play in cold weather,
Mike White, they
substitute their starting all-pro quarterback. Or all pro, I shouldn't say, Pro Bowl, not all pro, but Pro Bowl quarterback, top 5 or 6 statistic quarterback in the league. They just don't play him in cold weather, and they bring in the backup quarterback. That was a real thing that was said on national airwaves from one of the most prominent voices. I mean, so this is why I say I want to give this woman a little bit of grace. One, it hurts that she's a woman, because immediately we're like, oh, dumb broad doesn't know anything about football. Where, and you never played. Dude, this is where I will back her up 100%. The amount of dumbass questions that I've heard at these press conferences that we have said, I could not agree with you more. And most of the time, it doesn't go viral. It rolls off your back and you roll your eyes, but
well, it wasn't it's never as egregious as that, but I'm telling you,
they can be
95% of these press conferences, maybe a reporter has something going with the subject, and then somebody else comes in and they're like, well, what did you think of the court?
Well, how about this one?
And you're just rolling your eyes like, oh my God.
But the James Franklin, have you ever thought about just having your guy just huck a ball downfield, no matter what? That was the
No.
Right?
Strong no.
So let me ask, is that any dumber a question than the Detroit?
You're making me uncomfortable.
Well, it's not it's actually a decent question if she knew they played in a dome.
Yeah.
Or if she thought, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. If she knew that they played, but she didn't. She just knew that it was, she's from Tampa. She's never been to Detroit, for God's sakes. She just knows that cold weather was a story in football, and it's cold in Detroit. And so she was like, aha.
Yeah. Do you give them special mittens or anything? Or like even that, like, what are you going to do to prepare for I don't know. We're going to dress warmer. What do you?
I mean, all these pressers are on YouTube and like nationally broadcast anyways. So easy to get access to. I don't know why, if you don't have a sports department, you're sending anybody anyways. Just grab the audio online.
Schulte's ready to turn the whole industry on its ears. Put Schulte in charge.
I gotta be honest. I think that's fair.
Just get the sound.
These press conferences are absolutely worthless.
Yes.
If you could send 3 good reporters that cover the team on a daily basis,
good enough,
and get you everything that you need.
Yes.
But every time you roll in there's 8 cameras and a couple of hot reporters and a couple of dumb reporters and a couple of guys that look like they maybe are homeless, that maybe are like bloggers or something. Yeah. It's the same every time.
And here's the thing, for every coach and someone that's going to get all bent out of shape over this, if you ever want to see the greatest thing in sports, Go to a media day sometime. Super Bowl media day, National Championship media day, Pac-12 media day, and look at the student reporters. They're usually juniors and seniors at universities, and they're there at the media day as kind of like they're, reporting for their school paper. They're usually about, 20 years old. Here's a shocker. They all look the same. And do you want to know who the coach's absolute favorite people at any of those things are? That when they invite them in to hang out with the coaches for the dinners and for the media events and whatnot, I can assure you that the most popular people at those events, it is not Isaac Ropp, it is not Aaron Fentress, it is not me, it is those people. And it really doesn't matter what questions get asked. So let's also not pretend that coaches are somehow livid that these people that have no business being there are actually there. Yeah. I've watched Kevin Sumlin embrace many a stupid question asked by a certain individual. I mean,
and they all want those press conferences to end. They don't want good questions.
No.
They want the dumb stuff so they can just kill their 10 minutes and get out.
Exactly.
Get out of there.
Yes. I've asked real football questions before, and the coach just gets insulted about that too. I remember asking Chip Kelly a couple questions at times on actual schematic things and have him get bent out of shape because he doesn't need to explain himself. So what do you want? You can either ask a dumb question and get made fun of. You can ask a really smart question and get blown off too. So it's one of the most underappreciated aspects of this job is you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. Unless you're someone like Quick or someone that's a beat reporter and you're there every day and you build a rapport. But even that, remember, Quick really kind of got hung out to dry because he had the nerve to actually write a column that questioned whether or not it was in the Blazers' best interest to rebuild. And it cost him basically all his access to that team.
Yeah, it's
dicey.
Think you and I are on the same page on this. And if we weren't, we probably would be broken up a long time ago.
A long time ago.
But I think we learned very early that the most overrated thing in this business is access to players and coaches.
Yes.
Because one,
it comes at a cost too.
Yeah, they don't give you much of anything.
No.
They give you what you what they want you to hear,
Yep.
and you have to decide for that. And there is a game there, and a lot of journalists like Jason Quick play that game very well.
Yep.
But you don't need that to do our jobs. No. And I've often thought how just utterly worthless a lot of the media access to players and coaches is. Mm-hmm. Some of the guys like Jason Quick, if you've never been in a locker room, which many of you probably haven't, here's how it works. All the gaggle of reporters of dum-dums, they all get the same clips. That's the clip you hear on the news, whatever. The real stuff comes from the reporters, the real beat reporters who pull these guys aside and they do the one-on-ones. And do not stick a mic into that interview.
Nope.
Jason Quick's going to stare a hole through you if you put your mic into his content that he is getting. Yeah. That's what he is getting, not you, him. So it's this whole charade where a lot of it is really fluffy, and it's particularly executives, but coaches as well. They give you nothing, and players are a lot of times so young and so raw. It's just it's so worthless, man. It's one of the most worthless things in sports. But the beauty of it is, Schulte, that gal gave us an entire 20-minute segment.
Bravo, you anonymous, magnificent reporter.
Woman.
You.
It wasn't Todd Bowles or any sportsy answer. It was the dumb question that handed us 20 minutes for our sports talk
Americans
show.
and such.
So we're thankful. I've got one more Bucks Lions story here.
Okay. Is it about the weather?
We were playing the clip of Todd Bowles and the reporter who thought the game was going to be outside and very cold.
Well, maybe they're playing it somewhere else.
But
maybe
I still contend that 20-second
venue.
walk from the bus to under the thing is it's very important.
Yeah, it could be pretty chilly. I don't know. What if there's ice there and you slip and fall?
The other one is Baker Mayfield has already gotten into a war of words with Lions safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Is there anyone that Baker Mayfield hasn't gotten into a war of words with over the years, including the police?
Well, he does seem to do this, although in this instance, I think
you side with Baker.
Oh, definitely. Have you seen this?
I have not.
Yeah, he wins this. So C.J. Gardner-Johnson was asked about preparing for the Rams last week. He plays for Detroit, obviously. He said that this group probably is one of the better groups we done faced all year, besides that Tampa group.
Okay.
If you give that Tampa group a good quarterback, that's a great group.
Oh.
Evans, Godwin, Gage, that's a great group. I played against them for real. So that's what he said.
Okay. Yeah, that's clearly a shot, obviously.
Well, of course, yeah. And so Mayfield responded with the ultimate response, and I think Tom Brady would have fired back at that. Well, I guess he wouldn't have said that if it were Tom Brady at quarterback, but
No,
know what I mean.
I know
In other words, I give Baker a pass for firing back at that. He said, I don't think he's really watched film because he mentioned Russell Gage. We love Russell, but Russell hasn't played a snap for us all year. So I thought that was wonderful.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That was wonderful.
And it's nice too that
That's a good clap back.
and it is, and it's a little bit of a high road because you didn't make it about you.
That's right. He teed it up for you by mentioning Gage.
Yeah.
Baker, I mean, that was teed up. That was a softball.
Yeah, that's it.
And
it's a layup. That's like you're playing volleyball and someone or maybe some badminton and you just let one up there and he spiked it back down on you.
He hit it out of the park.